So basically, if I talk about myself, I am having total 9 years of experience, mostly in IT development and maintenance, primarily in data analytics, data warehouse, and ETL sort of projects. I have also worked briefly for a production support role, and then for the last 3 years, I am completely dedicated myself to robotics process automation. So I started with Blue Prism. I learned, and then I have done all the certification that what Blue Prism has. Then I moved to UiPath. I have also learned robotics framework and Power Automate and all those things, right? Not only this, I mean, I am also responsible for training my colleague at my organization, and that's where I learned the skill of giving training to people. And now, with the help of my community and my followers at the LinkedIn, I used to give training every year, couple of months, so that I can help students and the freshers or whosoever is starting career in a RPA to help them achieve their career goal. So that's what my introduction is. I am currently working as a solution architect, primarily responsible for designing a RPA solution, mostly in investment banking and mutual fund domain, right? So that's a brief introduction about myself. Well, then some people will ask, what is a connection with the RPA bots world, right? Why you and why what is RPA bots.world, right? So just wanted to give you a brief introduction. RPA bots world is nothing but a, you can say a platform where we share philosophy, tools, business impact, best practices, and a lot of blogs about the RPA and UiPath tool in particular, right? So it is a non-profit organization. We do not charge anything. Everything is free of cost, right? And but at the same time, we try our content to be best. We try our content having a depth in feature. It contains all the starting guides, how to articles, right? And then in the technical blog post, we usually cover a lot of use cases like how to automate SAP, how to automate uh, ServiceNow, how to automate with mainframe system, how to use AI Fabric, how to use so many things, right? So this is the basic idea behind RPABots.world. And not only this, as I told you, this is a non-profit organization. So we also welcome contributions to RPA Bots World, right? So if you feel that you can write something about any trending technology or in-depth article on a RPA, feel free to reach out to me, right? And we should be able to share your article, your detail under your name, under your credit, right? So that it can reach out to the better audience, right? So this is a basic intro about the RPABots.world. We are not looking for any profit. We are not looking for any monetary values. All what we look for is building a great community where people can learn and share things together. All right. So with this, let's talk about the program, or let's talk about the training that we are going to cover in next couple of weeks. Okay. And how this training is designed. So that's the main agenda. Today we need to understand so that you people would be able to, decide that how we need to, do certain things. Okay. So this training program is divided into 12 modules, right? Basically in two parts. The first part is RPA core. Okay. And RPA core, I say, we'll discuss about the practices that we follow for the RPA lifecycle. We'll talk about what all documentations are required, how the project will go for calculating the ROI, right? What all sort of thing you need to do, how to set up a RPA COE, and all those kind of stuff. So those will be covered into 4 modules of RPA. And then there will be 8 modules for UiPath tool itself, right? There will be discussing about UiPath Studio, UiPath Orchestrator, and these are the core 2 products that will be taking care. And then we'll be covering lot of other use cases where we'll see how to automate with Excel, how to automate on mainframe system, how to automate on SAP based system, how to connect with databases. If we need to use a Python program, how can we can inject that Python program into it, right? So as I told you earlier, this will be a pure, this training is not about the academic courses where we have, recorded sessions, right? It's more like we have a practical based approach. You'll be given an assignment. I'll be solving those assignment. I'll be helping you to solve those, practical problems that you might have, right? So those kind of things we have planned for this session. To talk more in detail about how this module contains. So every module will have some, uh, theory, and then some assignment, some hands-on material. There will be quiz after each module, and that you need to participate into, because on the basis of your score and that assessment will be giving you the completion certificate. So you must complete 3 assignment and the MCQ quiz at the end of this training so that you can get your completion certificates, right? Along with, we have a Telegram channel and the Slack channel that we have prepared, and I hope you all guys have joined it. If not, I'll ping the link later on during this training so that you can join those, so that not only I can help other folks, but if somebody in the group knows, say for example, Naman knows how to set up orchestrator, he can help others, right? And similarly, other people can help other guys, right? So that's how, that's the reason we have set up this communication and collaboration channel, so people can interact with each other, ask their questions. And along with me, there will be some other folks, like you must have heard, it's not only about me, there will be a few other folks from my RPABOTSWORLD would be joining, and they would be helping you to get your query resolved, right? Then about the recording, lot many people ask about, sir, will the recording will be available after the completion of the class and the courses? So yes, we record every session, we record every training program, and these will be available on RPA Bots World SharePoint location. If you have, you can access from there. Otherwise, what we can do, after 48 hours of completion, we usually export that and put into Google Drive. So we'll be giving you a link of a Google Drive where you can go and refer. This time, I mean, last year we haven't done so. We are keeping it private. We haven't published those lectured on YouTube. This year we are planning to publish some of the lectures on YouTube so that you can always refer from there, right? Last thing, but it's a pretty important. If you get into top 3 overall score on the basis of assignments and MCQ quizzes, you'll be also getting goodies from our supports. When I say our support, it could be goodies from UiPath, it could be a goodies from Automation Anywhere, it could be a goodies from Blue Prism and all those things. So basically, they reach out to us and they say that, could you please help us to understand who are the folks who are doing better, and we can probably give them some goodies, right? So there we share the details of those person, and you will be getting UiPath kind of UiPath goodies, t-shirt, robots, and all those kind of stuff, right? So it's basically not a monetary collaboration, but a collaboration on the basis of community building, right? So whosoever helps to build a community, we provide some sort of goodies for their support. Right. So any question here on this about the program, or you have anything to ask before I move to next slide?
Satish, all the sessions will be held on Sundays?
No, that's a very good question. Basically, so I'll come to that part. So all the sessions will be held on Saturday and Sunday. Mostly I try to keep session during midday, because some people say I'm not a get goer person, I do not get up early in the morning, and some says, oh, I cannot attend in the evening. So that's the reason I keep it between 11 to 2 p.m, right? So it will be on Saturday and Sunday both, to answer your query.
Sir, in that RE framework are teaching?
Yes. So RE framework will be there is a dedicated module where we'll not talk only about the RE framework. We'll talk about other frameworks as well, right? RE framework is a one template. There are other templates available as well, and it depends on what kind of project you are working on. You need to use different templates, right? Anything other? So I don't know if you have looked at the course. I'm just sharing a screen. So have you look at this, the module wise detail where I have kept everything, what all things you will be learning in each module. So there, if you look at the module number 6 talks about UiPath project planning and RE framework, right? And in module number 6, we'll discuss about UiPath project layout, advanced exception handling, state machines, RE framework, and all those things. Right. This Excel sheet I'll be sharing with you on Telegram, and also I'll mail you. So you can always access this, and this is already available on the website. So you don't, if you wish to refer, you can directly refer from there as well. Anything else on this particular? All good? Should I move to next slide?
Yes, sir.
All right. So then I wanted to point out something here, right? Because some people has different set of expectations. They think that I'll be teaching them how to write a for loop. They think that I'll be teaching how to write HTML and C# codes, right? So this is not this is not our agenda, right? So what we will talk here and what we will cover in our training is general RPA lifecycle, UiPath tools, best practices, RE framework, other UiPath component, tool related stuff in short, right? What is not expected, what we are not going to cover is, we are not going to cover HTML, we are not going to cover C#, we are not going to cover advanced Excel macros, Python, Java, PowerShell, DevOps, and anything which is beyond RPA tool. And most important, we are not going to discuss about the infrastructure setup, right? Because that requires a different set of learning and experience, right? So this is just a note of what we discussed already. And then this is a tentative schedule, right? So we are starting today and we are planning to complete this training on 6th of February, right? And if you look at the timetable that I have published here is from 11 a.m. till 3:30 p.m., right? And sometime it can be reduced. Say for example, for today, we are not going to take that long, but sometime it may require to extend it for 30 minutes or so, because we need to complete that module, right? So do you think that this time is good, or should we adjust it timing accordingly? I mean, sometime it happens that people, most of the people prefer to start training in evening, and then we have to reschedule some of the classes on evening, right? Or it is good.
I think this is a good time, but is there any break in between the session?
Yes, yes, yes. So there will be a break after 1 hour, or 1.5 hour usually. So say for example, today I'm intended to take a break at 12:30, okay, and then again we start at 1, and then we finish at 2. So that's how we usually do. So there will be a 30 minutes break for your lunch, and whatever thing you want to do in your 30 minutes.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. So having said this about everything about this course, let's start with the module number 1, right? And in module number 1, what we're gonna talk today. Okay. So with this, let me start the recording first, and then we'll start discussing these things. Just allow me 1 minute. I'll start recording. All right. So objective we have for this session, right? The first module is we need to cover the detail about basic knowledge of RPA, right? Some of you are talking about I'm looking in detail about these and all those things. So they must be knowing all of these things, but still we want to cover, because some of candidate we have are fresh, they don't know or they don't have any idea about RPA at all, right? So think about, we are starting from scratch, we need to explain everything so that people can understand, right? So what are the learning objective for this module? We'll be talking about RPA. What are the market leading RPA tools? We'll discuss in brief about 3 leading RPA tools: UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism. What are the developer roles and the career path? After learning UiPath or after learning RPA, where you could be deployed or where you could get a job, that's what we can talk about. What are the various certifications available? What is the trend in the market? What are the future risks and challenges? And then at the end, we'll discuss about how to set up your machine for learning. So this is the agenda for module number 1. So let's briefly start about what is RPA, right? And as I told you, some of you already know about RPA. So I'll probably ask this uh, to you guys to explain or give a quick answer for what is RPA, right? So can someone please speak a word about what is RPA?
Satish, RP is to to automate the repeatable tasks and rule-based tasks. Where long time taking tasks and mundane tasks, which we can automate with the RPA tools. So we can reduce the human efforts, we can save some cost, we can make some value to the industry with this technology.
Okay. What are the use cases of RPA? Can RPA automate everything?
Not everything, it has some limitations.
All right. So let's walk through the All right. So let me formally give the definition of what is robotics process automation, right? So RPA is all about a technology or a group of technology that allow anyone today. When I say anyone today, that means I am talking about, a mixed set of people, developers as well as citizen developer as well as low code, no code people as well, right? To configure a computer software robot or a robot simply say to mimic the action that a human can perform in digital system. When I say digital system, that means something already there in place to perform that operation, right? So that's what robotic process automation is. RPA robots are different than physical robots. I mean, you are looking at the screen and some may think that it's like these robots, physical robots, but this is not a physical robot, right? These are software robot, basically a programmed or a scripted, you know, robot that utilizes the user interface to capture data, to manipulate the application like we do, like we log in into system, like we navigate from one screen to another screen, like we download some file, right? They also interpret, trigger, response and communicate with other system in order to perform repetitive tasks, right? Like you're talking about the mundane task, right? So all those repetitive tasks where you have some pattern or some rule can be easily automated with RPA. But RPA can do much more than of that. It can also interpret and responses to certain actions, right? And those basically require some interaction with a different system or some flavor of machine learning algorithm or AI, on the basis of which it can do more tasks what we can do now today, right? So this is briefly about robotics process automation, and as we go ahead into this training, we'll learn more and more about it. But let me tell you one fact here is 1/3 of the organizations today which are planning to digitize their operations or the business processes are using RPA. They are using one or more tool to automate their business processes in their organizations. And they have also experienced that due to use of RPA, there is a cost reduction and it has also improved the efficiency of employees by so and so number. So these numbers are pretty old, so I do not want to quote you, but reports are coming every year where people are saying they are getting the benefit of RPA. All right. So what industry leaders are saying about RPA, right? So if you talk about a Gartner, who is basically a external body who talks about a lot of reporting on different technologies and impact of technologies, they say that RPA software revenue is growing very high, right? And RPA market is expected to be 4 billion by 2023. And not only this, look at the last line. RPA service market will top 12 billion in 2023. That means there will be lot and lot of job opportunity for people to work in service industries. Not only the RPA developer, there will be other roles like RPA infrastructure, RPA support, and folks to support those automation that we are doing over a couple of years. And there you will see a lot of jobs are coming up in RPA, right? The key driver for this RPA project is their ability to improve the process quality and speed, right? Sometimes speed may necessarily not improved, but they are at the same time reducing the risk, right? So cost reduction is one factor, but at the same time risk reduction and improve the productivities are two other factors due to which people are looking after robotics process automation, right? And as I told you, it can do anything that a human operator can do, right? So it's performing really, really well in last couple of years. Blue Prism has raised lot of revenues in last couple of years, but now they are slowing down on a pace and UiPath is taking a lead, right? Let's look at how RPA automations work, right? As I told you, they can perform all human user action, right? It can allow you to log into application. It allows you to move file between one file to folder. It can also copy paste the way we do. It can also fill in forms. It can also extract the structured, unstructured, semi-structured data from document, scrap, browsers, and many more. There are certain limitations, but still it can do up to certain extent, right? RP is also non-intrusive in nature and leveraging the existing infrastructure without causing disruption to the underlying system. That means for performing a digitization or for automating system, you don't need to build a new system, right? It can work using your existing legacy system. If your system is a mainframe or a other legacy system as well, then also you can perform some operation using RPA tools, right? So that's how this RPA works. If you're looking at the right side of the presentation, you will look at lot many tools are there, right? Some are the leader, some are major contender, some are star performer. And if you look at the top right corner, you will see there are leaders, right? UiPath is one among them. Automation Anywhere is another one. Blue Prism is third one. Then Nice. Microsoft already entered into a star performer. They have released lot many new components, new connectors, which is giving a good competitions to UiPath and other RPA too, right? But what I'm not going to discuss about the capabilities of these tools. All I wanted to say here is there are a lot of tools in the market and they are doing pretty good, right? It's not only about that UiPath is performing the RPA. There are a lot other tools also available to automate your tasks, and it's based upon need of the organization, cost you're gonna incur, and all those things, right? Let's look at the top 10 RPA software ranking. Okay, so if you look at this, although this chart is for the last year, right? HFS has not published for 2021. So if you look at some of these names are repeated, right? You see Automation Anywhere is overall top 10 position, and then Blue Prism on some of the scales, UiPath on some of the scales, Cofex is there, Pega is there, WorkFusion is there, IntelliBot is there, right? Nice is there. So these are top RPA software rank that is available in the market. Let me tell you, anything that you do in UiPath can be done in other tool as well. Sometime maybe in a less number of steps or sometime in more number of steps. But most of these tools are capable of performing what RPA should do. That means interacting with UI application, performing navigation to different tabs or menus or forms, filling the data, scrapping the data and putting them into somewhere for further perform, right? Before move to the next slide, I would like to ask some of you to give me an example of the RPA processes that have been adopted by your organization, if you have any example to share. Could you please help me to explain what kind of RPA processes you have seen in your project or in your organizations or
Uh, it's automating that, updating the contact details or like through web interface. This was one of
CRM
the,
application basically?
yes, correct. Application data update.
All right. Any other example?
Another example, the same thing like a T-bot kind of like where the HR information. It's like, suppose for example, we want to get like some details from the HR, and it will be automated and it will be provided that information. Like for example, if I want to update a PF, like my contact, it's a more or together, it's the same of the contact update or like required update details in the HR system.
Okay. All right. The point, the reason why I'm asking is if you look at any of the use cases, you will see few things. One is they are repetitive. Other thing is that there is a defined pattern. When I say defined pattern, that means there is an operation or a rule already exists in your organizations that what need to be done on which step, right? Those kind of things. And those are mostly been automated as of now. People are moving toward AI automations, including some of the features provided by the external vendors, right? But still we have not reached that maturity level. Some organization has started using AI center, some has started using AWS and all those kind of stuff, but still we are reaching there, right? So I'll cover also those aspects during our training, and that's the reason I wanted to highlight this. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. In this slide you will see where RPA is being used, in which industry and which function. And this is pretty important to understand to give you idea about what you can do with RPA, right? And the color coding here is the one which looks more darker, that means they are using it heavily. And the lighter the color is, that means they have started but not yet reached the maturity level. All right. So I'll quickly give you some of the example from banking financial service industry. And all of we know credit card activations, customer onboarding. These are fairly repetitive tasks, right? And they are all been automated. Most of the banking and financial services, they have automated using RPA tool, not only RPA tool, but leveraging some other technology what they have at their bank. Similarly, in the insurance, you can have claim processing, new business preparation. In healthcare and pharma, you can see some of the report automation, system reconciliations. In manufacturing, you can see bill generation, material management, master material management, lot of operation on the basis of SAP application. In high tech and telecoms, you can see service order management and the quality reporting. In travel and logistics, passenger revenue accounting, ticketing, automatic cancelling of ticketing, and those many things, right? This is based on the industry. Similarly, there are some common functions which exist in every industry, right? So in banking and financial, there is a department called finance and accounting. Similarly, in the insurance, we have a department called finance and accounting. Similarly, in travel and logistics, we have a department called finance and accounting, and they have some similar processes like GLM reporting, advanced account, receivable and cash management, account payable and expense reporting. Similarly, they have another function called procurement where they buy things from external vendors, right? Like invoice processing, PO processing, inventory management. Similarly, most of these industry, whether it's a bank, insurance or health pharma, they have human resource department where you could have common applications like leave application, payroll variations, new joiners and leavers, and those kind of things. Then we have a support center, or which is a customer care, right? So you have a level 1, level 2 queries, customer data management, and all those kind of things. So I just wanted to highlight you here is that if you look at some of the operations that has been already done, or some of, you can take example of your own processes like credit card bill generation, or sometime when you call a contact center, how they're operating, right? So we'll see some of those are automated, right? And there must be technology behind it, which is using RPA, right? Any questions on this slide? Because I just wanted to focus on this slide for this module, reason being so that you can understand where you can apply RPA. Or probably you can give another example from banking and financial services, somebody, please. Any more example apart from one listed here? Anyone?
Satish, I work for HR domain.
Mm-hmm.
Where, whenever there in any organization, whenever engineers use the company,
Mm-hmm.
so HR team raises some tickets where security team will be taking up those tickets and revoking all the access which they provided to the engineer, like removing multi-factor authentication devices allocated to the user ID and revoking the security certificates. Then managing the workday application, like changing their details, marking, tracking the information from there. So these kind of activities I have seen.
That's correct. That's a really good example. I'll tell you. In the recent, recent technology shift, we have seen a new concept called DevSecOps. You must have heard. There is a term called DevSecOps, right? So there is a great need of security in any organization, any, whether it is a small or a big or a medium and large scale, right? They need to protect the customer, right? They need to protect the customer data, and lot of operations that they do on a daily basis, like looking at the logs every 5 hours, right? Those kind of things are repetitive and they can be also automated using RP2. People will say that there are already some tools, monitoring tools are available, but sometimes one monitoring tool cannot do a work, and RPA bridges the gap between different systems. So the role of RPA would be there not to monitor, but to aggregate the data from the different system and present anomalies if we have any. Let's take an example of a small, travel and logistic company, right? So they are running a beautiful campaign for all newly married couple to send them a honeymoon package, right? And while they are running a campaign, they expected all the registration that has to happen on their website has to go truly. They should be able to make a payment and all those kind of stuff. But due to some issues at their configuration, something is not happening, and their RPA can also play a part where RPA can look at website at the same time at the backend system, at the database system, to understand, right, where it went wrong. It could say XYZ customer has visited the website, registered, yes, payment, no, data saved in a database is no. Those kind of report can be generated. This is a simple example, right? What I'm trying to say here is using the multiple systems, you can get the data what you want to perform your operations, and there RPA can help you, right? Another example is KYC, know your customer. That's a very good example. It has to be done, in most of the organizations, right? So those kind of thing can be done, and not only these are a specific example that industry is using, right? Apart from that, you will find a huge case in every department or everything that we do repeatedly. Recently I was working with one of customer who is providing a loan, and there is a problem of sending a loan credit letters, right? So they have automated a process where you can send your letter of credit using FedEx website, and bot can physically print a label on envelope, and then somebody will come and collect. So their task is done. So it can be applied anywhere. All you need to do is define a process, define a steps clearly, articulate what should be the outcome on each stage so that the bot can be designed perfectly, right? So with this, chart of RPA adoption, I'm done with pretty much basic introduction of what is RPA, where RPA can be used, what all RPA tools are available in the market. Now I'll move to the introduction of UiPath, right? And this is I won't spend much time here because all of we know much about UiPath. What is UiPath is, right? It provides you a drag and drop UI capability where you should be able to drop the activities available to build your automation or to build your workflow. It provides you the seamless automations using web, API, or using a recorder based systems as well. In December, right, they have filed a IPO and now they are public. So the slide will be available to you for your references as well, so you can read all these fact and figures, and if you have any questions you can ask, but these are basically I have taken from news websites and all those things. So these are pretty informative information, good to know kind of thing. All right, so you can look at this as well. This is basically a highlight of some of facts, why UiPath is trending, why UiPath is number one, and all those things, right? So UiPath was ranked for first in Deloitte Technology Fast 500 in 2019. Then in June, they are emerged as one of the most 50 disruptors. And UiPath ranked number 3 on Forbes Cloud. And similarly, in December last year, they have filed IPO. So these are some of the major happening that has happened with UiPath in last 2 or 3 years. All right. I don't think we have anything to discuss here. Let's quickly move to basic building block of UiPath. Okay. I'll also talk about other UiPath products in the next slide, but let's talk about the basic building block of UiPath. Okay. So UiPath is a tool, or you can say UiPath as a platform that helps you to create a automation bots. It has 100 or more than 100 activities, or you could say a ready-made component available to you so that you can drag and drop to design a workflow. These activities are nothing but a small set of program that takes some input and perform some operation out of it. These activities are used inside a UiPath Studio to build your automation. So in fact, you can understand UiPath has three core component. One is UiPath Studio, where you design your bot, then UiPath Robot, which runs your bot, and then UiPath Orchestrator, which manages your bot. So your Studio is where you write a code. Studio is where you design your workflow. UiPath Robot is one who actually executes your code. It's an executor. Studio is designer, and UiPath Orchestrator is controller, where you can manage everything about your robot. Right? Any question here on this page? I mean, it's a pretty easy to understand, but anything you want to ask here on this page? Those who are starting new with UiPath specifically. No? All good here?
Yeah, good.
All right, so let's move to the next slide. So UiPath has not only these three products, okay? So they have a lot many other products available, which helps you to discover, build, manage, run, and engage. They have divided, I mean, UiPath has divided their products into 5 categories. Products which are used for discovery phase, products which are used for build phase, products which are used for manage phase, products which are used for running the automation, and products which are used for engaging the people in your organization to run and manage the automation. When we talk about the discovery phase, discovery is all about to identify what kind of processes we can automate, right? And there UiPath has provided 4 products. One is called Automation Hub. It's nothing but basically you can say Confluence or Jira kind of application where you can note down what all automation you need to do. You should be able to track the steps. You should be able to capture what all steps you need to perform. And then at the same time, there will be approvers, and your senior management folks are available on that portal so that they can approve and reject the idea which you need to automate. So that's about the automation hub. We'll talk about these products later, but just wanted to give a quick intro on all of these products so that you understand what these products works. Then we have a task capture. Task capture, you can say as a kind of recorder, right? It records everything or every steps that you do on your computer system. It's basically being used by RPABA so that they can capture the steps that has been followed by the process SME. We usually install task capture on the process SME machine, and we ask them to run the steps so that we can record them and we can automate them. So that's the beauty of task capture. It gives you two kind of output. It can create a PDD or a diagram which shows which step need to be done after which step. And similarly, it gives you a workflow which is generated automatically, and you can tweak that to run and build your automation. Then we have process mining and task mining. This is basically related who are coming from the process reengineering group, or those who are looking for process optimizations, right? So process mining is all about to identify the potential of a process to be automated, and similarly the task mining have same objective at the granular level. Now let's talk about the build phase. What all things available for building a bot? So you have a studio family. When I say studio family, that means they have three kinds of studio. One is UiPath Studio, which is using as a community edition. Then they have UiPath Studio Pro, which is used with much more level of controls. And then you have Studio X, which is being used by citizen developers. Then they have also provided a component called document understanding. It is nothing but integration of different OCR tools so that you can automate the processes which requires unstructured data, such as reading an invoice or reading an email or reading PDF file. Then they have recently introduced an integration service, which is available in 21.10. So with the help of integration services, you can connect to third party. Say for example, if you want to automate some steps using ServiceNow or Salesforce, then you can use their integration services to connect two different systems. And then once you integrate those two systems, you can use the pre-built activities, which are nothing but a bundled API to build your automation pretty quickly and fast. Then they have marketplace where you can publish your own code as well. That means if you identified something which can be used by some XYZ person in other organization, then you can make that as a reusable component and publish that at marketplace. And this is done by many other organizations. So Mindtree has published a lot many reusable components, and so is the Google and UiPath and lot many other third-party vendors. So they have published their ready to start codes so that you can start working immediately. All right. Then we have a manage. Okay. So you identify what processes to be automated. You identified how you can build the processes. Now you need to manage the process automations, right? For managing the automation, they have given these 5 products. Orchestrator, as I talked about, is a core product which is responsible for managing all your automations. It's responsible for controlling which automation to run on what machine, right? It also provide you some sort of insights whether the process has failed. You can also able to export the logs from the orchestrator to see what went wrong, right? And then we have a test manager, which is basically used for testing the automation before we move into production. We have a AI center. AI center is nothing but a component or an add-on component, you could say, where you can integrate AI and ML based machine learning algorithms, right? So there are some pre-built algorithm which has been given by UiPath, so you can use them. Or if you want to deploy your own custom model, you should be able to deploy using AI Center. Data services is again another add-on component which basically is working as a persistence layer, so that if you want to save the data which has to used between the different automations, you can save your data there and bot will take care of accessing based on the rules you set up. Insight is another UiPath tool which gives you information about how your bots are performing. Are they returning a ROI? How many queue items are getting success? So it's all about representing a dashboard which is given to usually higher management to see how your automation are performing at your organization. That's how UiPath Insight is. And then for the run, you have attended robots, unattended robots, and test robot. We'll briefly touch base upon these types of robot when we go into designing a process. But for quick information, attended robots are those which requires human to trigger a bot. Unattended, that means it can be triggered automatically based on certain events like time or something happened at XYZ system, right? So that's an unattended robots. And then test robots are robots which are responsible for running your test cases. And if you look at the last vertical, which is engage, so you will see UiPath apps, UiPath assistant, action center, and chatbots. These are basically providing a capability where human can interact with bot, right? Human can interact with a bot in multiple ways. Either you can give a form to input some data, that's UiPath apps. So that's nothing but basically providing an interface so that you can give input to UiPath tool. Then you have UiPath assistant. Assistant is nothing but, you could say UiPath robot itself, which you can trigger from your machine. Then action center is again a human in loop approach where a person who is responsible for approving or rejecting something can be engaged to perform certain actions. It's not only about the approval and rejections, it's also about the validation as well, right? So say for example, you are automating a process which requires invoice to be read, right? And some invoices are good, but some invoices are not good, and bot is not able to read those invoices. In those cases, action center can be introduced and that will record all the validation failed document and it will create a ticket item for them so that a person or a human operator can look at those and provide necessary actions. All right. Any question here on this particular tech to understand, or you have problem on understanding UiPath products? I mean, I want this session to be more interactive. The more you ask, the more I can be able to explain. All good here? Anyone having any questions?
We had a confusion, Satish, like we were thinking like assistant is an attended robot. So as we usually execute the process from your assistant. So what I was thinking, this is an attended robot. So I was thinking like assistant as a attended robot, I was not thinking about anything.
See, no, I understand your concern.
Please repeat the product at a glance.
Okay, so let me repeat it.
So can you please repeat the product at a glance?
Okay, let me repeat it. So what is happening here is, how this definition of robots are defined, right? So definition of robots are defined on the basis of run, how they are running, right? They can run in attended mode. When I say attended mode, that means they require a human to run it. They require a human to give some input. They require a human to perform certain action if required. Say for example, you build an automation where an application has to be launched and password need to be entered manually. So those are called attended robots or attended automations where a human is required. Got my point? And when we see unattended robots, that's also a workflow designed to run a robot. But there, you don't need somebody to input something. It will be running in a, in an isolated VM or a other machine where human do not require to log in. That's what we call unattended. That means there is nobody looking at the run, how bot is doing. While in attended, a person is looking how bot is doing. I hope that's clear the answer. Yeah. All right. Any other question on this? So if you look at the bottom. Yeah, please.
I thought chatbot is the unattended, right?
Sorry.
For example, chatbot is the unattended robot, right?
Chatbot is not an unattended robot. Chatbot is chatbot can you can say chatbot if you trigger a automation using chatbot, how it will be triggered, right? It will be triggered using some events, right? An event is sent to your orchestrator to trigger this bot. What happened when we design a chatbot? For every interaction, we define certain actions, right? If you say hi and bot need to deploy hello, that means there is an action defined which will trigger a process, and that process will return hello, and that hello will be returned to a chatbot, right? So it's a event-based unattended automation.
Might be something like we are sending in a monthly bill on your basis. Actually, it does not require any human attention. Correct? It's automatically sends that it will be running the separate VM.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. It's like you don't need to be log into that system and check that whether the bill has been sent or not. It's automatically sends it like a monthly basis for all the users.
Yeah. And there are, some people are really get confused when we talk about hybrid bots, right? So when we say hybrid bots, there could be a process, right, which requires certain human interactions, but some of their parts are running in a background. Automation itself triggering a different automation, right? For triggering an automation, orchestrator is required, so we triggered the automation, but that trigger had triggered multiple automations, right? One requires human to do something while other automation is doing everything automatically, right? So you can, what I'm trying to say here is that you can create as complex as automations you wish to. It varies of the process that you want to design, right? If your process requires somebody to validate, somebody to approve, somebody to look into it, the choice is yours. Or if you want your process to run all automatically, everything is been ruled, coded, then it's good, right? All right, so let me briefly touch base upon the delivery part of the automation, how automations are delivered, right? And what kinds of options we have available. So one is the automation cloud. Automation cloud is nothing but software as a service platform, right? So UiPath gives you everything. They are responsible for managing your server. They are responsible for managing the database. They are responsible for all the operations if database goes down or application goes down and everything. So you'll be getting a credentials and password, and there you can configure everything directly. The only thing that you need to do is you need to download UiPath Studio on your machine, and rest everything will be on automation cloud. So that's how automation cloud work. Then we have called automation suite. This automation suite is the UiPath platform recently designed and delivered by the UiPath team. This basically works as a Docker container, right? So you don't need to have a physical service and all those things. You can create Dockers and you can run that into any container platform. So with this introduction, UiPath can also run on Linux and Mac. Previously, which was not possible. Previously, there is a need of Windows Server, and now without the use of Windows Server, we can also run the UiPath product. So that's the beauty of the new release, which is 21.10, and it's rolling out. It is still in testing phase. A lot of organizations have started testing it, but not implemented completely. Then we have individual products, right? So automation cloud is software as a service. Automation suite is Docker and container based services. Individual products are on-premise products where you can selectively install certain products. Say for example, RPABOTSWORLD is not a big organization, right? We have only few employees and few processes to automate. Why I need to buy add-on license for data services if I do not require, right? So you have two options. You can go to the automation cloud. You can only select orchestrator and insight while not select AI center and data services, or you can install selective individual products on your platform on your organization. So that's how individual products are work, right? Any confusion in these three?
Yes, we have a presentation.
Yeah.
Individual means like how do we get any GUI kind of software for this individual product where once we launch the application, then it will display all the machines connected, all the processes we
Yes. So
develop.
basically,
Like,
yeah. So basically, individual, you will get a UiPath orchestrator. Orchestrator is a controller. Orchestrator is a manager. Orchestrator is one who controls everything at your enterprise, right? So even if you get an individual product, you'll be getting an orchestrator. There you can see how many robots are there and all those kind of things. I'll give a quick demo, right? So help you to explain how it works. All right.
explain, Satish.
All right, so this is basically about the various product, and during our training we'll be learning more about a couple of things. We'll learn about task capture from the discovery stage. We'll learn about studio family, document understanding and integration services in the build phase. We'll learn about the orchestrator, AI centers in the manage phase. We are not interested in data services and UiPath insights. If you wish to read, I'll provide you the blog links and I'll provide you the documentation. You can read it from there. But given the time constraints and the things we need to complete, we are not going to cover those things. In the run, we'll cover all of these kinds of robots, and in engage, we'll talk about action centers and UiPath apps. Assistant is available to everyone, so they can try it on. Chatbot we are not going to cover. So if you wish to create a chatbot, you can follow our blog or you can follow our documentation to create a chatbot, right? So let me repeat it again. In discovery.
Sorry for the interruption. I have a question. That is, what is the primary role of basically the AI center?
Okay, so primary role of an AI center is I can explain you in a much better way if I go to the next slide. But if you can hold your question for a couple of minutes, I'll help you to explain what exactly it is. Yeah, why it is required. Before moving that, I'll ping this. Sorry. These are some important links which I'll paste on Telegram channel as well, so that you can refer them directly. So we have UiPath Academy where you can go and see pre-recorded videos and training sessions provided by the UiPath team. Then we have UiPath Marketplace and certifications, how to contact the technical support, community orchestrator, chatbot, practice portal for the certification and documentation. So these are few important links that you should note it down somewhere so that, right? So you can follow it. Guys who are not speaking, please mute yourself. Otherwise, I need to mute. Yeah, thanks. All right. So I'll talk about AI Center in next couple of slides. Before that, let's discuss about RPA roles and responsibilities. Okay. And then we'll discuss about where AI centers can be used. Okay. And then we'll go on a quick break and then we'll come back. So what are the RP roles available into the organization? Looking at the pace of the change that is happening right now, and use of artificial intelligence in a RPA is giving a lot many career opportunities. The one you look at the current slide is not may be valid for all the organizations. Every organization have different hierarchy, different structure, different payrolls, and different, reporting bodies. So it may be what I am defining a controller here could be known as a different person in a different organization. What I say a designer here could be a different person in a different organization. But in general, when I say in general, these are the 5 roles will be required in any organizations for a RPA COE to work. The one which is a designer, or sometimes we say a process designer or a process SME, who is responsible for designing a process steps in detail. Then we have a developer or a RPA developer who is responsible for designing your workflow so that it can run in an automation mode. So that's a role of RPA developer. Still hearing a background noise. Let me mute. Okay, so I was discussing about the developer role. Okay, then we have administrators. Administrators are those who are responsible for managing the permissions, managing machines, managing the credentials and everything. And then we have a IT infrastructure team who is responsible for provisioning the VM, provisioning the infrastructure, provisioning the servers, provisioning the databases. So these are basically 5 categories of roles available into RPA, and they could have all fancy name. Somebody can say solution designer, somebody say process analyst, somebody say process SME, somebody say design authority, somebody say delivery manager, somebody says technical architect, somebody says operation SME, operation manager. All those fancy names can be given, but at the core, at the background, they must be following a role which is defined into these 5 categories. If a person who is just supporting a process is a controller who looks after how a bot can be triggered. If the bot is not running, what all operational step I need to take so that bot can be run, right? So these are 5 common types of role. Let's look at what are roles available into the market for you to start your career. So if you look at the roles and where they fit in, you should be able to understand what these roles are. And I do not want to discuss much of these. Please look at the slide and let me know if you want to discuss anything about this particular role, because these are very common roles available into each industry. Do you have any doubt on any of these roles, or do you want me to explain them one by one?
No, you can move on.
Anyone else? We good? All right, so let's talk about the UiPath certifications, what all kinds of certifications we have available. So I'll briefly talk about this because we have a dedicated session for UiPath certification where we'll talk about what this certification is, what this certification will require, how you can clear those certification and all those things. So let's talk in brief that we have 2 kinds of certification available. One is UiPath RPA Associate, which is basically a starter certificate. Anyone can try who wants to build their career in RPA. And then you have UiPath certificate, advanced RPA developer certification. This is basically require certain hands-on experience, and probably if you have 6 months plus of experience in development of RPA, you should be able to crack this UiPath advanced certification. In industry, most of the people, if you are getting hired for a senior developer or a technical architect, they'll be asking you if you have UiPath advanced certificate or not, right? Previously, these certificates are free, but now they are being paid They are being taken care by Pearson, and for attempting this certification, you need to pay certain fee. It again depends on if your organization is registered with UiPath partner or technology partner, they'll provide you certain discounts or sometime vouchers or sometime a coupon which can be used to reduce the cost. But for general people, it is 150 USD for associate and 200 USD for advanced developer. All right. Now let's talk
Yes,
about,
Satish.
yeah, please.
I was just saying plus tax.
Yeah, plus tax. Yeah, obviously. So now the bigger problem, okay, and why AI center was required, and why we need a AI center or action center and all those kind of things. So the bigger problem is the 80% of the data that is produced out of this digital system are unstructured. We can be able to automate market data which is coming from Reuters or Bloomberg or somebody else. We can able to automate the product sales which is coming from Amazon API or Flipkart API. We can able to automate stuff which is coming from the service ticket, from the service now, or a GPS data or CRM, and those kinds of all structured data. But what about if there are data coming in a form of images, click stream, messaging, right, social media, web logs, call center logs, audio files, video, images, emails, right? Those all are unstructured data sources, and real potential is available if we automate those kind of processes. Automation using these data which are structured is RPA 1.0, which is done. People have already automated many of those processes, and now industry is moving toward where they need to automate a process which contains unstructured data. Let's take example of KYC. If we need to automate a KYC process, we can't automate it unless we use the image automations or automations which require capturing your videos for KYC, right? So for all these kind of things, RPA alone cannot do these things, and that requires a human intelligence, that requires AI powered technologies like OCR, text analysis, machine learning algorithm, sentiment analysis, language translations, and lot many other, AI powered algorithms. And that's where the need of this AI center and other add-ons are required. So let's look at the next slide. As I briefly discussed, the classic RPA bot copies human action, right? If you do not use any AI powered activities or some AI operation, what RPA bot does is it copies the human action. That means clicking on some XYZ element on the screen, typing something into the screen, and all those things. By convention, AI powered RPA is superior to traditional rule based structured data automation with the use of technologies such as OCR, text analytics, and improving the workplace experiences. Things which cannot be automated using plain pure RPA can be automated using some of the AI powered tools used inside the RPA workflow. It's basically increased the scope of the RPA to do a more knowledge based work, because the moment you introduce AI capability, it will become a self learning capability. That means it can learn itself. We can take example of document understanding, where a lot of invoices are coming, and sometime if one invoice having incorrect data and you corrected it manually using action center, next time when the UiPath document understanding finds similar set of invoices, it will auto correct and move to the next invoice. So that's a self-learning capability, right? So it enables you to develop the ability so that it can create more decision making, right? or you can say enhance decision making processes. As of now, all the decisions what we do is we write in a form of if else structure, or a switch statement, or some branching statement that if xyz happens, do this, right? But there is no self learning capability. But with the infusion of AI powered RPA, this capability will be built. To say it simply, traditional automation is process driven, and AI ML powered RPA is data driven, right? On the basis of data, it will take its action itself. Let's move to the next slide. So if you look at the screen here, forget about RPA 1.0. Talk about the current RPA platform, which has capabilities of OCR, which has capabilities of machine learning, which have capabilities of analytics, which has capability to connect with process orchestration or BPM. And that's where AI Center comes in. Previously, it is known as AI Fabric, and now it has been renamed to AI Center. So UiPath provides AI Center, that is machine learning model, so that you can build automation which can utilize available algorithms like test analytics, language translations, sentiment analysis, document understanding, and others. Similar to UiPath, not only UiPath, Blue Prism also provide certain gateways to connect with the many cognitive solutions. These all cognitive solutions are available through a third-party vendor. IBM provides, or Google provides it, or some XYZ, providing these algorithms, and they can be included into your RPA platform. Automation Anywhere provides a discovery bots, IQ bots, and integration with third-party software. Power Automate have their own AI builder, where you can easily build, AI-based, automations with the help of support of Azure. And similarly, there are many third-party vendors provide the support for integration with this RPA tool. So same task can be, what I'm trying to say here is UiPath AI Fabric is not only one example, or the AI Center is not only one example. All leading RPA tools in the market are following the same pattern, where they are including flavors of AI and ML algorithm, so that the processes which could not be automated prior, now they can be automated with the help of these things. Right? I hope that answers your query, why AI Center. Right? Any question here?
Is this not moving to high code requirement side?
Not a high code requirement side. That's a really good question, Anand. I appreciate it, because when it started, this all RPA platform, we are saying that RPA platform is to be used by a person who do not require a coding, right? Who do not require to have a knowledge of programming languages. But that's not really true. A person has to work with ML model. They need to understand what will be the input to that machine learning model, right? What will be the output? Although we are not responsible for writing that model, but we need to know the uses, right? We need to know what could be given the input and what the output would be coming, right? Sometime to give an input, you need to translate that. That means your data is coming from database, right? And you cannot pass the data directly to the ML model. You need to convert that into a JSON, right? Or you need to convert them into a different format called XML, right? So that requires certain interventions, and you are rightly said, it is moving towards where you need to have some programming knowledges. And that's where we call citizen developers. I mean, the business person who having some programming knowledge, they can build the automations, right?
Right. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? This is the last slide before our break, and we still have 10 minutes to cover. So if you have any question, any general question, where to start, what to do, or anything about the RPA in general. This is in general, right? And
What is this process orchestrator? Is it something new? Can you
sorry,
elaborate? Process orchestrator.
process orchestrator is nothing. It's I do not want to write it UiPath orchestrator, right? UiPath orchestrator is specific to UiPath tool. So somebody call it process orchestrator, somebody call it BPM, somebody call it. It's not a tool. It's a general terminology.
Okay.
Whatever tool is responsible for orchestrating a process is called process orchestrator. In Blue Prism, it is called control room, right? Any other question, guys, before I move to next slide? Because this is the last slide before our lunch break, and when we come after lunch, we'll start with installing of UiPath Studio, connecting UiPath Studio with Orchestrator, and then try to understand how UiPath Studio works. We are good here. All right. So if we are good, I'll probably stop the meeting here, because the next thing that we need to do is hands-on session where trainer need to help you to install the UiPath Community Edition, and that's where we'll start our next session would be, right? So thanks everyone for joining. Let's join the same meeting link, okay, at 1 p.m. 30 minutes break.
Satish, can you please share a Telegram link for joining the group?
Yeah, I'll share that here so that it will be visible to everyone. Let me give you the link. I just pasted in a group chat. Okay. So guys, whosoever has not joined, please join this. This will help you to discuss your queries, questions with other folks in the training. So sometime I might not be able to help you to answer, but Anand will be able to help you to answer quickly, and Shivam will be able to help you answer, right? So this gives a good opportunity to socialize with other candidates who are attending this session, right? All right, so with this, I'll stop the sharing and I'll stop this meeting. Let's connect on a same meeting link at 1 p.m. Okay, so let's have a 30-minute break. All right.
Yeah, all right.